Welcome back, Dolphins. Today we're going to be going into the fourth episode of Road to Training Camp, and today we're going to be talking about the safeties. And I think we have a lot of bright side to talk about with the safeties. But before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and I appreciate that very much. So we'll go over all the safeties that we have right now. It's going to be obviously Ifeatu Melifonwu, I think I got that right, Dante Trader, Patrick McMorris, Ashton Davis, Elijah Campbell, and Jordan Colbert. Patrick McMorris and Jordan Colbert, I think, and Elijah or Dante Trader are the rookies. So when we talk about the safety position right now, number one, I think there was a infamous stat last year with the Miami Dolphins where they're starting safeties. Now there are 32 teams in the league, which means there's two safeties on each team that are starters. So it would add up to 64. And what I'm telling you this for is that last year with Javon Holland and Jordan Poyer, their stats and how they played they were ranked 65 and 66. So the safeties that we had last year, they literally didn't even rank as the top starters. Like they weren't even in the starter conversation. They were literally 65th and 66th ranking for safeties, starting safeties in the league. So essentially what that's telling you right there is that for some good part of the year, our safeties, there were backups that ranked higher than our starting safeties, which is wild to me. So we talk about the safeties that we have this year. Obviously the starters right now, we're going Ashton Davis at free safety, and the strong safety is Melifonwu. Ashton Davis, we can talk about a little bit. I think he's going to be better than what Jordan Poyer was last year. I think not crazy, like a huge step forward, but I don't think you can get much worse than the way that Jordan Poyer played last year. He's going to make the tackles. He's going to be that guy that you can make the tackles. He might surprise you. I think he was one of those that always had potential, but never really, got to that point with the New York Jets. But he was still a name to watch. He's not going to be. I think longer the times of being with Jordan Poyer and then Javon Holland just basically trying to play to get a contract. Ashton Davis is going to be a guy that is going to be your workhorse. He'll probably get top 3 in tackles on this team. I think he's going to be that guy. It's just, again, the biggest problem with these safeties is that they get injured. The problem with Ashton Davis, and then we'll get into Melifonwu in a second, is they get injured. And that's been the biggest problem because Ashton Davis has had a lot of potential. I think Melifonwu is definitely much more that he's shown in the NFL that he can be starting caliber. Ashton Davis hasn't really shown that yet. But I think Ashton Davis is going to be a good player for us. Not great. I don't think he's going to be spectacular. I just think he'll be somebody that Anthony Weaver can make better than what he normally would be. But let's get into Melifonwu. I think people are sleeping on Melifonwu and what he can actually do. His best season was 2023, and he had 2 interceptions. He had 3 sacks for the Detroit Lions, and it kind of looked like he was going to be in that safety role. It's just he keeps getting, unfortunately, again, knock on wood, he keeps getting injured. That's been the biggest problem with Melifonwu. Ashton Davis never really showcased that full, potential to be a starting safety in the league. Melifonwu has. When you look at the 2023 stats, I think he had 33 tackles, he had 3 sacks, he had 2 interceptions. He looked really good. He looked like he could be a not just a starting safety, but someone that has a lot of potential in this league. It's just he kept getting injured. And then 2024, he got, a major injury that kept him out most of the year and kind of just hindered him throughout the year. So which is one of those things that it looked like he was going to be the Detroit Lions safety. Kind of looks very similar, not the same, but very similar to when we got Deshaun Elliott. I think that was one of the bigger mistakes, letting Deshaun Elliott go. But when we got Deshaun Elliott, he was, who was he playing for? He was playing for the Ravens, I think it was. Yeah. No, he was playing for was he playing for the Steelers? I forgot who he was playing for. Man, I'm totally blanking right now. But we got Deshaun Elliott. He was one of those that, he was playing for the Lions. Totally forgot about that. He was playing for the Lions. Yeah, he was the Lions safety and just got injured and didn't really play up to where they thought he should be. So they essentially, let him go. And we ended up getting him in free agency. And Deshaun Elliott has been a stud, not just for us, but, for the other teams that he's played for ever since. I think Melifonwu can be the same type of player where, the Detroit, it's very funny. I think that, he came from Detroit because Deshaun Elliott also came from Detroit. Having that player that got injured, you thought he was going to be something, but, it kind of hindered him a little bit. You get him, and he turns into a Deshaun Elliott, and you sign him. That was the biggest thing, is that we should have kept Deshaun Elliott. I don't know why we let him go. You sign him, he could be one of those players. I'm very excited about seeing what Melifonwu can do. He's very, very good at tackling. He's one of those that it's probably going to be someone that Anthony Weaver really likes working with, because he's one of those that you can move around the field. He can blitz. He can, go in the backfield. He can be a box safety. He can be up in the box with the linebackers. You can do a lot of stuff with him. So he's going to be someone that I think we definitely utilize a lot this coming season. And I think people are sleeping on him, Ashton Davis, I totally understand. I don't know what to expect from Ashton Davis, but Melifonwu, I think people are sleeping on how good that he actually could be as a strong safety. Just God willing, if he just doesn't get injured, he could definitely be someone that we could probably sign to a 3-year contract after this year, because I think he's only like 26, 25, something like that. Young guy, and again, like I said, when you look at 2023, that dude looked like he was going to be, the starting safety for the Detroit Lions. Just unfortunately, injuries kept happening. It's scary, because it seems to be the same scenario for a lot of players on the Dolphins team. But again, this is another guy just like Deshaun Elliott coming from the Lions, which is a very funny thing that they both came from the Lions. Deshaun Elliott, I think, got injured, and it was almost like the exact same story. He got injured, had a lot of potential, hard hitter, but, injury concerns were there. We signed Deshaun Elliott. He ends up balling out, playing the whole entire season, does fantastic. Like, if I could be real with you, it kind of looked like he made Javon Holland look better than he actually was, because the way that Javon Holland played this year, it just, without Deshaun Elliott, he looked like, not great. So made him look better. I think Melifonwu can be almost the exact same story, where you have a dude, hard hitter, looked like a starting safety, got injured, the team kind of gave up on him, and then we sign him and he becomes a gem in the rough. I think he's another one of those. There's a couple of gems that I think we have found. He's one of them. He's one of those that I think if he has a good year, we can sign him to a 3-year contract and, have a reliable, strong safety coming into this season. But now we'll get into the backups. And right now it's going to be, fortunately, Dante Trader, Elijah Campbell. We'll go into Dante Trader just because I think Dante Trader has the best chance to be the backup for the rookies, because Dante Trader, he had a pick 6 in minicamp. And I think coming from Maryland and the way that he played, it's not crazy good. Like, it's not, it's not something to write home about, but he can definitely be a good box safety. I've seen, it's the only thing, I think he's undersized. He's like 5'10", so he'll be a guy that you work with. He might even, go to the practice squad or something like that. He could be someone, maybe eventually he could make it to the team. I don't know. Again, that pick 6 definitely helped, but we'll see when pads are on with Dante Trader. Elijah Campbell, he's been that reliable backup for years. I think Anthony Weaver actually really likes Elijah Campbell. I think Elijah Campbell is kind of like, how can I put it? I think Elijah Campbell is like the Liam Eichenberg of the defense. No offense to him, but I think he's one of those that just doesn't really do anything spectacular, but he's okay at a lot of things. You don't want him to be your starting safety, but if people get injured and he comes in for a couple plays, I think it's the same thing as Liam Eichenberg. You don't want that guy starting, but he can manage it for a couple plays, if one of your guys goes down for a little bit. So that's what I think of Elijah Campbell. He's been in the league for a little bit now, and you kind of know what you got with him. He's just going to be a reliable backup that you can keep on your team. Jordan Colbert, rookie, I think he'll be on the practice squad. I don't think he's going to make the team. Patrick McMorris is the one that I think we all have to kind of consider. I think we get very high on people in minicamp, And it was kind of like, I always say this is like the Robbie Chosen effect, where I remember when Robbie Chosen got here in minicamp, he looked amazing. And when we got to training camp, it's like you didn't even hear his name, and everybody, I think I even made videos too. I was like beginning in, Dolphins coverage on YouTube, where I was like, Robbie Chosen's going to be the dude. He's going to be the speedster that gets Tyreek Hill open. And I remember it was like atrocious when he got on the field. Like, it was just not good at all. And, again, Patrick Morris, he's looked pretty good in minicamp, but we'll pump the brakes a little bit. It's understanding the defenses, understanding where you need to be. I think he's definitely competing with Dante Trader, for that backup role. He supposedly looked pretty good. He looked like he was moving very well. But like I said, minicamp is one of those things that I truly think that it's one of those that it gets us hyped up for a second, but, some of those players, they look great in minicamp, and then training camp comes and they disappear. So I think he could be one of those as well, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, those are going to be your safeties right now. And I think what we can take from all of this is that I think people might be sleeping on Melifonwu and what he can do. I think, number one, we're not understanding as well, especially for the defense. Anthony Weaver has made people look better than they actually are. If we consider last year, who did we really have for pass rush? He had a rookie basically leading our pass rush with Zach Sealer. That takes skill. That takes coaching. Our team last year, by all means, was not great. Jalen Ramsey was okay last year, and, Kendall Fuller was really not good at all. We really didn't have that great of a team. And, we were, which was surprising to me, we were a top 10 defense last year. I think, with some of these players like Melifonwu, I think Anthony Weaver can definitely kind of bring something out of him that he hasn't had and put him in a proper position. Because, again, Anthony Weaver's coaching for the head job of either the Miami Dolphins or his next team. And I think the gem in the rough is going to be Melifonwu. I think Ashton Davis is going to be, he'll be a good soldier. He'll be the guy that you can do exactly what you need him to do. He's not going to do anything special, but he'll be there. He'll make the tackles. He'll do all that. But I think Melifonwu can definitely be a gem for the Miami Dolphins, very similar to Deshaun Elliott, the story and everything like that, how the Dolphins got him, very similar. And I think, coming from the Lions, both of them coming from the Lions, it'd be kind of coincidence that we get a very similar story, timeline, team player that turns into a gem. I think we're sleeping on him, but we'll see what happens. Let me know down in the comments below who you guys think will take that starting job, if you're okay with the safeties or if you're panicking right now. But let me know down in the comments below. Memberships are going to be available, or they are available. Make member-only videos on the membership. So if you guys wanted to join that, sign up. You don't have to, but if you wanted to, that's cool, baby. As always, guys, fins up, baby. Love you all. Peace.